Hello, BookTube. I have a tag for you. It's the Monster Mash tag, which seemed a little appropriate now that we're heading into October, even though it's 90 degrees with 97% humidity here in Boston. The weather forecasters say that fall weather is approaching very quickly and will be here for a while when it gets here, but I don't believe it. But anyway, the tag is based on the 1962 Bobby Pickett song, "The Monster Mash," and it was created by Megan and Sue from the Restricted section, who did a bang up job. I'll leave the link to their video down below. And when they were done, they tagged their 175 favorite booktubers. I wasn't on the list. I wasn't tagged. I was tagged instead by Mega Man Chief Fan, which proves once again that he is the most outstanding member of whatever science eventually determines his species to be. There's just a few questions I thought we'd get right to it, all based on lyrics from the song. Number one, I was working in the lab late one night. What's a book that kept you up at night? And this is, of course, a little problematic for me. If you watch this channel, you know that I read at night. So and I don't have a proper job. I scarcely ever wear pants. so it's we'll have to shift it a little. The meaning of the question is, what's a book you couldn't put down? And recently, that's a book called "A Victim Without a Face" by Stefan Anhem. I'll mention all these things in the comments down below. It's a police thriller, and it's by the numbers. It should not have enraptured me the way it did. It's even in translation, and there are passages where you can tell, but I loved it from beginning to end. I highly recommend it if you like gritty police procedurals. Question number two. My eyes beheld an eerie sight. What's the weirdest shit you've ever seen in a book? For me, sticking with a vaguely horror-esque theme for these, I tried not to stray too far from horror in my answers. There's a novel by a man named Jeremy Levin called Satan, His Psychotherapy and Cure, by the unfortunate Dr. Kassler, JSPS, which stands for Just Some Poor Schmuck. It's a wild, weird novel, and it's brilliant, I think. And there's a climactic scene with one of its weirdest characters that definitely counts as one of the weirdest things that I've ever seen in a novel. I won't spoil it for you, but it involves eyes, which is creepy right there. Question number three. Get a jolt from my electrode, a book that completely shocked you. And no pun intended here with electricity, but the one I want to nominate today is Lightning by the schlock horror author Dean Koontz. I've read almost everything by Dean Koontz, never, much like his fellow inhabitant of the letter K in your bookstore, Stephen King, I've never in a Dean Koontz novel found a single bit of literary merit, not a single sentence that is worth reading. You have, like Stephen King, you have to read them for the plot or sentimental associations from when you read them when you were younger. You can't read them as literature. You can't read them as quality fiction. But his book, Lightning, surprised me because when I was done with it, I kept thinking about it. It's every bit as atrociously written as everything else the man has ever written, but it's awful hooky. A lot like Michael Crichton in that way. And I actually recommend it, which is weird. Question number four. The guests included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son. Your favorite monster or villain in a book. And those are two very different things, aren't they? So for monster, I picked the character Michael Gallatin from Robert McCammon's novel The Wolf's Hour, which is about a werewolf who is actually the hero of the story. And it is great. As a historical novel, it's just terrific. And as far as villains go, it's not actually horror fiction, but he's pretty horrifying. I would pick Monsieur Melmotte from Anthony Trollope's great novel, The Way We Live Now. If Melmotte doesn't give you the creeps by the time the book is over, that's something you ought to have your pulse checked, because he's pretty creepy. Question number five. Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist? Name a book that was super hyped when it came out, but that nobody talks about anymore. My candidate would be The Passage by Justin Cronin. Question number six. They did the mash. Your favorite book that's a mashup of different genres. For this, I'm going to go with The City and the City by China Miéville, which is a gritty police procedural, but a bunch of other stuff too, and so good. So good. I won't say it's better than Perdido Street Station, but I urge you all to read it. What a book. What a memorable book. Question number 7. It was a graveyard smash. Your favorite horror novel. All-time favorite? I'm afraid I have to go with Dracula. The Great Dracula. Sorry, that's a bit old and boring, but still, it's the best. Question number 8. The scene was rockin', all were digging the sounds. Your favorite song based on a book. I've mentioned it on this channel before, but I can't help but mention it again, even though it's not horror related. Calypso by Suzanne Vega, which is a song sung from the point of view of the sea nymph Calypso from the Odyssey. Wonderful. I just love it. Question number 9. Tell them Boris sent you. What's your go-to recommendation? For a horror novel, that would be something I mentioned once on this channel before, The Light at the End by Skip and Spectre. I don't think it's in print anymore. I'll put a link down below. It's a contemporary vampire novel that works. On all cylinders, it works. Question number 10. For you, the living, this MASH was meant to. Who do you tag? And I have a few people to tag, and what better setting in which to tag them than a horror setting? I am going to tag the dead and hope to bring them back to life. I tag dead booktubers. Michael at Bitten by a Radioactive Book, Conrad at 7 Days at Sea, Jack the Bibliophile, figures who exist in the graveyard of BookTube. I'm hoping to raise them back to life. And question number 11 is a bonus question. What's your favorite thing about Halloween? From childhood, my favorite thing about Halloween has been that on this one day of the year, this face is normal looking. Thank you, BookTube.